Hi, I'm Yana Budel and I'm a compliance advisor at GCO Global. I advise medical associations and societies about medtech and pharma compliance in relation to congresses and industry sponsorships. After almost 2 years of COVID, where virtual meetings were very much the norm as well as congresses, we feel that everyone needs a bit of a refresher about the basics of live meetings when they're sponsored by industry and are with healthcare professionals. For some, this might not exactly be rocket science, but since we've received a lot of questions from clients and a lot of feelings of uncertainty about what happens now that we go back to live, we decided to share a couple of tips with everyone. So therefore, there are 5 tips about organizing events sponsored by the industry with healthcare professionals. Number 1, compliant venue and how to choose them. So the choice of venue indeed is very important, and it's not about only the space or the space perspective, but it's also whether the venue actually complies with the industry regulation and standards. There's a quick tip here: choose for a business venue that is suitable for business travel. Nothing extravagant, anything that's suitable for a scientific meeting will very much do. For example, if you choose for a city that is also renowned for its touristic activities, but it's a very connective city that has a lot of connections indeed with a lot of other destinations, which is pretty much true for any large European city. Choose for a hotel or a congress venue that is kind of away, if possible, from all the touristic attractions. Usually that is actually also the case. Or for a hotel that is, let's say, nearer to an airport. Number 2, compliant accommodation. If you need to book accommodation for healthcare professionals or simply prepare a catalog with options, choose for modest to suitable for travel hotels. Usually that will do just fine. Another quick tip here is to remember that some countries actually have the amount you're allowed to spend per HCP enshrined into the code or into the law. And knowing which countries those are whenever you're organizing a congress in, again, those countries can be very, very useful. For example, Cyprus has a maximum of 250 euros per night per HCP. So therefore, I think this limit will help a lot. Next to that, compliant meals. Since we're going back to live, of course, participants will need to be served meals, naturally. Therefore, choose for a modest option, keeping in mind the hosting country standard. So what does that mean? Keep in mind what is considered reasonable or what is an HCP expected to spend for themselves in the country in which you're organizing the congress. Usually those are the kinds of limits you need to be, that will be acceptable also to industry. Another quick tip actually is that in some countries, the amount of money you're allowed to spend per meal, per HCP, for meals that are sponsored by industry, that is actually, again, in the code or in the law. And knowing which countries those are can help you when you're organizing events in such countries. For example, Italy has a maximum of 60 euros per meal per doctor. Therefore, yeah, that should help you. Number 4, tracking attendance. Is this still necessary, or what level of details do you really need? Verify those points with your industry partners up front so you don't get questions or requests for additional information later, because that's not kind of easy to resolve retrospectively. Another point to take into consideration, of course, here is GDPR or data privacy. Ensure that attendees will agree or have agreed to the information, for them to share the information you actually need to gather with your industry sponsors. And very importantly, that they have agreed that you are allowed to share that data back with your industry sponsors. Some people don't seem to remember that, but it's a big detail that you should not miss. Keep in mind also that different companies may require different data packages, and you may need to adjust sometimes per sponsor. Number 5, transfer value reporting. Different rules apply actually to what and by when it needs to be reported in terms of pharma and medtech companies, but it also depends on the doctor or the recipient's country of origin or practice. Therefore, check those requirements with your industry partners. The key points to align on here with them is what actually they require to be reported back to them, and what level of details do they need, because some companies actually need names and addresses and specialties and degrees, and others simply need the name and the organization of the doctor or HCP for that matter. So it's good for you to know what actually do you need and what do they require, so that you can give it back to them and you don't get any questions. These were our 5 tips. I don't think it's that hard. We at GCO are curious, of course, about your compliance challenges when it comes to not only live meetings, but virtual and hybrid events. We have a dedicated life sciences team that has extensive experience with working with medical associations as well as pharma and medtech companies directly, and therefore we understand their working methods, their motives, and we have unique industry insights into the industry trends. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed this mini course. I hope you also will check out the rest of the boardroom's amazing content. Thank you very much and have a nice day.